provincial premiers who are present, senior government officials, Chairperson of Transnet, Mafika Makwenazi, and Chairperson of the SABC, Alan Shabalala, distinguished guests and friends, I'm Mohsin Williams, the editor of The New Age, and it's my great pleasure and privilege to welcome you here today. Mr. Deputy President and your fellow cabinet members, let me add, I'm sure on behalf of everybody here, our congratulations on your appointment to the cabinet of President Zuma. We wish you well and be assured of our prayers in your tough task ahead to overcome the country's many challenges and to move it forward. And I know most of you haven't hardly had your feet under the desk yet, but you got your marching orders last night. We do this briefing once again in partnership with the SABC and our sponsor today, Transnet. It is commonly accepted that these briefings have transformed public debate in our country and provided progressive South Africans with an alternative narrative about what's happening. The New Age as a newspaper has become a phenomenon in the South African newspaper industry. It has once again shown tremendous growth and in the latest industry figures released in April, and marking only its third anniversary in December last year, the paper is rapidly making its mark in a highly competitive newspaper market. The latest industry-wide survey known as M shows that the New Age has recorded the highest growth of nearly 25% in readership among all daily newspapers in the second half of last year. The New Age and only one other daily newspaper have shown growth over the past year. Recently, the respected media monitoring agency, Media Tenor, issued the results of their survey, which show that the New Age is amongst the most influential daily newspapers in the country. Not bad for a new kid on the block. The New Age has set out to deliver provincial coverage like no other daily newspaper. Apart from our province-by-province daily content, we last year launched fully-fledged provincial editions in the Western Cape, KwaZulu-Natal, the Free State, and last month we launched an edition for the Northern Cape, while the Gauteng edition is being developed into the national flagship one. 2 other provincial rollouts are on the cards this year, with the ultimate quest of regional editions in all our provinces. President Zuma, in his State of the Nation address to Parliament last night, set out an ambitious government program with a tone of urgency attached to it. He stated that while South Africa was a much better place to live in than in 1994, and that the lives of millions of our people have improved, the triple challenges of poverty, inequality, and unemployment continue to affect the lives of many of our people. He said that as South Africa entered the second phase of its transition from apartheid to a national democratic society, the country must embark on radical socio-economic transformation to push back these triple challenges. Change, President Zuma said, would not come about without some far-reaching interventions. Mr. Deputy President, millions of our viewers at home and across the country and our audience here today are therefore keen to hear from you the implications of these profound statements made by the President last night. Thank you, Mr. Deputy President, for making yourself available today and for this opportunity. It is greatly appreciated. And to you in the audience, I hope you enjoyed today's briefing, and once again, welcome.
Mohsin Williams, thank you very much indeed, the editor of The New Age. And for those of you that have just joined us for a moment, a very warm welcome to you. Today we're in Cape Town. This is the scene for the latest in the series of New Age business briefings brought to you by the SABC and sponsored by Transnet today. And we're just getting a word from our various partners in making these breakfasts possible, these conversations with the country's leadership. And we've just heard from the editor of The New Age. And of course, in a short while, we'll be in conversation with the Deputy President, Cyril Ramaphosa, to talk about the 7th State of the Nation address of President Zuma last night. And we'll unpack that with you, and hopefully we'll get your tweets and your messages as well coming through. So we'll pose those questions to the Deputy President. But it's my great pleasure now to welcome the chairperson of the SABC board, Ms. Zandile Shabalala, to join us on stage just to say a few words. And don't forget, this is very much a program that we'd like you you to be part of. So at Morning Live SABC, hashtag TNA BizBrief are the addresses that you can use on Twitter to pose your questions to the Deputy President.
Deputy President of the Republic of South Africa, Honorable Cyril Ramaphosa, Ministers present, Deputy Ministers, Members of Parliament, Provincial Premiers, MECs, Councillors, Chiefs and Tribal Councils, business community, non-profit organizations, members of the media, distinguished guests and viewers at home, Chairperson of Transnet, Mr. Mafika Mkwanazi, my chairperson as well, the editor of the New Age and the leadership of the New Age as a whole. Good morning. On behalf of the South African Broadcasting Corporation, I wish to seize this moment to express our deepest condolences to the Mbeki family who lost their loved one, our loved one, Umama Uepainet Mbeki, whose revolutionary soul is at peace. And let me also send my deepest condolences to the Member of Parliament. We were led to believe that he passed on, our Secretary of Parliament. And I wish to also pass our condolences to our colleague, you might have seen on TV, Mr. Zondi, who was a very popular DJ who has been there for 20 years, who passed on the past weekend. Deputy President, through you, let me also express our profound gratitude to the people of South Africa for embracing our vision of the collaborative power that is possible when government, business, and the entire stakeholder groups engage and contribute to the development of their citizens. It is my ultimate pleasure to present to you that the TNA and SABC Morning Live Breakfast Show, this is one of South Africa's greatest collaboration that affords the South African citizenry, opinion makers, business people, and all other key stakeholders an opportunity to have a conversation with South African leadership. Our groundbreaking partnership with the New Age, alongside other sponsors like Transnet and Telkom, is rooted in shared interest in making our country work and prosper through constructive and effective engagement between its leadership and ordinary South Africans. The partnership embraces nation building and it seeks to connect South Africans from all walks of life through sustainable empowerment and economic prosperity. We honor the service to the people and do believe even as this country faces enormous challenges, this is also a moment of great promise to its citizens. Our objective don't seek to polarize society and mislead. Our efforts are genuinely intended at responsibly adding value to South Africa in a positive way. Through this partnership we have with TNA, we are bringing the leadership of the country to the ordinary people, creating a platform for constructive engagement with the leadership of this country at various levels to communicate directly with ordinary South Africans about their challenges, programs of action, solutions, and challenges they face. Honorable Deputy President, distinguished guests, and viewers at home, this year marks a very important milestone in our 20 years of democracy. The SABC is actively involved in the celebration of our democracy through our programming and events. We're able to speak to 24 million people a day in the language of their choice. We will continue to lead all the celebrations in our country through all our 19 radio stations and our 4 television channels. This is also a year that SABC delivered the 5th national election in the 20 years of our democracy. It has indeed been a year of great things, a year that SABC featured the general elections for the 5th time on our dedicated news channel that was launched last year in August. As a national broadcaster, we will use all resources, including our television channels and radio platforms, the web medium, to ensure that these important events reach all South Africans. Honorable Deputy President, distinguished guests, and viewers at home, I'm absolutely convinced that our collaborative efforts will set a framework for real and meaningful partnership and extend the frontiers of our democracy. I wish to extend my profound gratitude to men and women at SABC for all their praiseworthy efforts and all the teams in various provinces. Lastly, Honourable Deputy, let me take this opportunity to assure the public that the SABC, as SABC, we are unflinching, determined, and have faith in our processes to improve certain areas of our organization. Our programs are always available on time and every day. Deputy President, let us all work together to tell the story of this wonderful country of ours. We move South Africa forward. I thank you.
Thank you very much indeed to Ms. Zandile Shabalala, the chairperson of the SABC board, for sharing her thoughts with us and helping set the stage, as I said, for this conversation that we're going to be having shortly. Just now, I'm going to call upon the chairperson of Transnet, Mr. Mafika Mkwanazi, to join us on stage. But before that, we're going to take a quick commercial break. It's all made for television, I'm afraid, and we'll get a word from him after that. Stay with us.
Nice.
That's why we're investing billions to improve our infrastructure, more freight trains, bigger harbors, state-of-the-art pipelines, so that we can move fuel, coal, iron ore, manganese, cars, and household appliances more efficiently. As the backbone of the economy, we'll stop at nothing to keep everything moving.
Yeah. His Excellency, that was not on cue. I don't know how it happened. The Deputy President of the Republic of South Africa, the Honorable Matamela Ramaphosa, Honorable Members of Cabinet, Honorable Members of Parliament, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, our partners, the New Age and the SABC, colleagues, friends, and distinguished guests, thank you for making time to be with us today. Let us once again congratulate all present on a successful 2014 elections. Let us also remember that we held elections in what is a watershed year for South Africa. 20 years ago, on the 27th of April 1994, South Africa cast aside its oppressive chains to form a new society built on the foundations of freedom and democracy. It marked the end of apartheid rule and introduced a new order where we all worked towards a united, democratic and prosperous society. It was also a time also, I'm sure our Deputy President will forever recall, as he played such a critical role in those formative years. Mr. Deputy President, we are grateful for all that you've done. Ladies and gentlemen, much has been achieved over the past 20 years. There is, however, much more that we can do to live up to our promises. The key is, as always, delivery. At Transnet, we take our commitment to delivery seriously. As some of us may be aware, in April 2012, Transnet launched its rolling capital expenditure program, the Market Demand Strategy. It is a 312 billion capital expenditure program over 7 years. The MDS, as we call it, is a revolutionary transition in the life of Transnet. It marks a definitive move to demonstrate the role that state-owned enterprises should play in the development of our economy. Key to this, though, as our President said last night in his State of the Nation address, is the creation of jobs, meaningful, worthwhile jobs. Education and training for these jobs, therefore, forms part of an important component of our market demand strategy. We'll be spending almost 8 billion on training over the next 7 years, including training 2,000 artisans at any given time per annum. For the young people out there, almost 5 billion of this in the next 7 years will be spent on bursaries and grants. As a state-owned company, we are determined as ever to ensure that we have a skilled and educated workforce to propel our nation to even greater heights. It gives us great pleasure to say we have spent approximately 2.7 billion on training during the last 5 years, focusing on artisans, engineers, and engineering technicians. Let us therefore tackle our challenges with renewed vigor as we go forward. Please give our Deputy President and his team your undivided attention and feel free to engage them in this critical dialogue on issues that inspire us all. Thank you very much, Mr. Deputy President.
Right, thank you very much indeed to the chairperson of Transnet, Mr. Mafika Mkwanazi. Thank you for sharing your thoughts with us. And also, I guess, we're grateful that the contribution that Transnet is making to our country, and perhaps it might encourage the private sector as well to join the party, which was one of the things that the President spoke about yesterday. And we'll chat a little bit more about with the Deputy President shortly. Now, this is Morning Live, and one familiar face that we have on the program is Leanne Manis, and she's with us today, and she'll be roaming around the floor. The people on the floor at the moment, unsuspecting, they don't realize that their chairs have got numbers, and we've selected people that we're going to come to during the course of the broadcast. And let's say hello to Leanne and welcome her to this New Age Business Briefing. Leanne?
All right. Peter, thank you very much, and thank you very much for scaring all the guests here this morning. I promise you I'm not going to come up to you and ask you anything strange. What I'm going to do is basically come up to you and ask you if you've got any questions, because this has become somewhat of a tradition after the State of the Nation address that we have one of these amazing briefings where we're able to speak to the Deputy President to find out exactly what is going to happen. And I can see lots of ministers in the room as well, so it'll be nice to get their reaction to what was said last night and how they're going to take things forward, particularly when it comes to energy, because I know that energy was a key focus, and we've got our minister in charge of that, Tina Zimmermann-Petersen, in the audience with us, so we're going to have to pose some questions to her a little bit later on. So this is going to be a good breakfast, a wonderful session, and also remember, we're not leaving you, the viewer, out here this morning. We would love you to tweet us. Remember, our handle is at Morning Live SABC or TNA Biz Brief. Just use that hashtag. We'll pick it up and we'll pose those questions as well. All right, Peter, let's go back to you now.
Leanne, thank you very much indeed. What I'm hoping actually is that we can take a quick commercial break right now, because what I need to do is to get rid of this podium and then also get our special guest up. And the rest of you here, you must start thinking about your questions as well, so that we can get this conversation underway. So for you at home, the next time you see us, we'll be getting ready to talk to the Deputy President. Let's take that break now. Okay, great. Can we get this podium disappeared? And I hope that you can still hear me from this microphone. Where's our sound team? I need this one. Yeah, right. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, no. Just hang on. Okay, all right. Change the plan. All right. Okay. All right, and then we'll take another break after the speech. Okay, all right, no problem. Okay, just as we're in the break now, just a couple of housekeeping notes that I need to get through quite quickly. On your tables, there are small pieces of paper Those are for the questions that we'd ask you to pose to Deputy President. The pieces of paper are short and small because we want you to have short questions. Please, if you find yourself tempted to write on the other side of the piece of paper, your question is too long. So stick to the front and keep it as short as possible. When we come to you, please be brief and straight to the point. Just say the question that you need to say, and we'll get a quick response from Deputy President. I'm going to do the praise singing now. Deputy President's a great guy. We like him. So you don't need to do that now. Now you can just concentrate on the questions, and we'll get straight into the conversation. Also, please check your mobile phones. Please check your mobile phones. Please check your mobile phones. A funny thing happens. People see you on TV, and then they start phoning you to say, I can see you on TV. So switch off your mobile phone, or else, if you're going to follow this conversation on Twitter, hashtag TNA BizBrief. Hashtag TNA BizBrief, or at Morning Live SABC. Sometimes they use at Leanne Manis, at Peter Ndoro. If you don't understand anything about Twitter, just switch off your phone. Okay. All right, stand by everybody. 30 seconds to go. Everybody must sit down. 30 seconds to go, and then I'm going to bring up the Deputy President. All right, please, if you could all sit down. The waiters, please clear. There's a camera person in front of this camera here. Waiters, please sit down, move out the way. Right. A very warm welcome back. We're in Cape Town today for the latest in the series of New Age business briefings brought to you by the SABC, and today sponsored by Transnet. Last night, if you were watching television, perhaps watching it being streamed on the internet, or even listening on the radio, you would have heard the President deliver his State of the Nation address. And it was quite an important speech, given the stage in the country's development, growth, democracy, all of that. And it was a message of things need to get done now. Poverty, unemployment, and inequality, big issues that need to be dealt with. And he proposed a number of action plans, committees, working groups that have been put into place. And, well, we're going to hear now from the Deputy President himself, and then we're going to have a conversation with him a little bit later on. So, ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for the Deputy President of South Africa, His Excellency, Mr. Cyril Ramaphosa.
Mr. Peter Ndoro, the Master of Ceremonies, or whatever they call you. Are you the anchor or whatever they call you? The editor of the New Age, Mr. Mohsin Williams, the editorial team and management of the New Age as well, the chairperson and the acting COO of the SABC and the management thereof, Mr. Mafika Mkhwanazi, the chairperson of Transnet, ministers, deputy ministers, distinguished guests and ladies and gentlemen. And I overlay the minister's part because I've seen quite a number of my colleagues here who are going to take all the questions. And they are all ready and willing to do so. And they woke up bright and early this morning to do precisely that. And fellow South Africans, it's wonderful to have this opportunity. President Zuma yesterday delivered his first State of the Nation address, opening Parliament, the fifth Parliament of our democracy. He was in his element, focused, strong, And I think we should pay tribute to him for having delivered such a wonderful, forward-looking State of the Nation address. And what he delivered is so clearly and well captured by a number of publications, and the New Age puts it out succinctly by saying Zuma commits to growth, because that is precisely what the President did yesterday. The delivery of the State of the Nation address took place against the background or backdrop of 20 years of progress in our country, progress at the political level in terms of consolidating our democracy, but progress also in relation to changing South Africa. And it confirmed once again that South Africa is a completely different place than it was in 1994. And that confirmed the good story that South Africa has to tell. And indeed, this concept has now been embraced by millions of our people who, as you go around, will tell you that, yes, we as South Africans, not only the ruling party, we as South Africans have a good story to tell. And ladies and gentlemen, this is something we should not be shy about. We should not be shy about, even if there are detractors, people who always have this pull you down syndrome of pulling the country down. We have a good story to tell. We have made tremendous progress in the last 20 years, and that is precisely what the President was talking about yesterday. But despite the achievements of the last 20 years, we still face many challenges. Inequality is still a major challenge to us. Poverty is still a major challenge to us. And unemployment continues to affect many lives of our people in South Africa. And the State of the Nation address that the President delivered yesterday also took place against the backdrop of huge and enormous economic challenges that our country faces. Many countries around the world are also facing significant economic challenges. We are not alone as South Africans in facing the economic challenges that we face. We are not alone in facing the huge problem of unemployment. Many other countries are facing precisely the same problem. And sometimes when countries face economic challenges, they either do nothing and sit by and wait for the storm to pass, or they do something to address the challenges that their economies confront. We have chosen to do something. As the President said yesterday, we are a country at work. We are working to change South Africa, and we are also working to address the economic challenges that we face. And we are alive to the causes of our challenges that have resulted in low growth and high unemployment. And the rating agencies who recently rated our country have also raised their concerns about our economy, and they are concerned about our growth outlook, which they believe has deteriorated over time, and some of them also raised the issue of the strike in the Platinum Belt, and we are as deeply concerned as all South Africans about the level of growth in our economy. What inhibits our economic growth? There are quite a number of factors that inhibit our growth. The energy constraints that the President so eloquently addressed is one of the key factors that inhibits our growth. Many companies who want to invest further, look at our energy landscape and say, we will not be able to get on with our manufacturing capabilities or activities because there are energy constraints in South Africa. So that is a serious constraint that we have to address. Another constraint that we have is skill shortage. And this is where the legacy of apartheid education is beginning to take effect. We do not have the numbers of engineers that this country needs or this economy needs to drive it forward. We do not have the number of technicians and artisans that this country needs. So we do have and face a skills shortage. We have infrastructure constraints. That's one of the major problems that confronts us. The rail lines that can take our ore from the mines to the coast and the beneficiation process and all that are in short supply. We have a low investment type of environment, and there's also low demand. When confronted with economic challenges, many countries around the world will embark on a number of strategies that are meant to address the economy or the economic slump that they may well be going through. Some will come with stimulus packages, as we saw happening in the Northern Hemisphere some years ago. Others embark on huge infrastructure development projects, and others will even embark on things like huge public works programs and so forth. And others will take various measures. What have we chosen to do? We've chosen to come up with a plan. The National Development Plan is the overarching framework that is meant to address the economic challenges that we face. And indeed, it is so overarching that it addresses many other aspects of South African life, does not only address the economy. But if you zero into the aspects that deal with our economy, therein lies the answers. Therein lies the tools with which we will be able to address the economic challenges that we face. The program of action outlined in the State of the Nation is essentially based on the National Development Plan as well as the ruling party's election manifesto. The economy, or put properly, the President made the economy the center stage of what he addressed us on yesterday. And it is a program that is targeted at growing our economy. The most effective weapon in the campaign against low growth, against poverty, is jump-starting the economy and making sure that our economy begins to perform at a higher level. One of the key issues that we have to address is creating jobs. Creating work requires faster and a much more inclusive economy. And this program of action, therefore, involves a range of measures to remove the constraints on growth, stimulate faster job creation, and invest in the long-term sustainable growth of our economy. As I said earlier, what President Zuma demonstrated yesterday is that we are a nation at work. We're not sitting on our laurels or hiding our heads in the sand like an ostrich. The government of President Zuma is very much alive to the challenges that we face and is determined to work with all sectors of our economy and key role players to make sure that we address the economic challenges that we face. The President also said that we are prepared to work with the private sector. The private sector generates up to 70% of jobs in our country, and the President has committed himself and his government to work very closely with the private sector to begin to address what many people call the trust deficit. We want to address the trust deficit and work hand in glove with the private sector to ensure that we inject growth in our economy. And to this end, the President will be meeting the Presidential Working Group to engage business on a number of issues about economic growth. And one of the things he will be saying to them is that the public sector, the government, has demonstrated over and over again, has demonstrated confidence in the economy of our country, and we would like the private sector to follow suit. We would like the private sector to also invest in this economy, to get over this low level of investment that we've been going through. So it is a call that the President has made to the private sector to invest in our economy. But in doing so, at this meeting that he will hold, he will listen very carefully to what the private sector has to say, so as to understand what they articulate as constraints to economic growth, so as to hear carefully what their proposals are in terms of getting engaged more effectively to generate growth in our economy. So we look forward to this meeting that will take place shortly, so that all of us can work together to begin the process of generating growth in our economy. We will also engage with various other social partners to arrive at a common approach at encouraging economic growth and stability and reducing inequality in our country. And a particular area of focus, as the President addressed us on yesterday, is going to be in the mining sector. The mining sector has been going through a lot of stress, and there are quite a number of problems apart from the strike that is ongoing, which is being addressed by the partners involved in that process. There are a number of other issues, living conditions, housing conditions, that the President addressed yesterday. And he will now be taking forward the process of the implementation of the framework agreement that was arrived at under the leadership of former Deputy President Kgalema Motlanthe. Work will also continue at interministerial level in addressing the infrastructure key challenges that we face in that regard. The President spent quite a lot of time addressing the challenge of energy. We've identified energy as a huge constraint to our economic growth, and the government has decided that it is going to take steps to address this major challenge. And the President articulated clearly what our strategy is on energy, and that we are going to embark on a sustainable energy mix that comprises coal, that comprises solar, wind, hydro, gas, and nuclear energy. It will also include focused efforts to bring the Medupi and Kusile power stations online in the shortest possible time, and proceed to ensure that they come into generation sooner than we had hoped for, so that they can contribute to the grid and increase our energy power. A critical part of our efforts to grow the economy is a massive, coordinated focus investment in the economic and social infrastructure. Infrastructure is still the key area of focus for our government. We have an infrastructure backlog, and the President articulated this very clearly yesterday, and we've already made huge progress. R1 trillion has already been invested, and we're going to be investing close on to 900 billion rand going forward in the next 3 or so years. And that is a clear sign of confidence in the economy of our country. It is meant to address precisely the constraints that we have identified. The other key area is the area of skills. The skills shortage, the government has pulled out all stops to make sure that our young people get skills, they get proper skills as to be able to contribute to the growth of our economy. This government invests, as we all know, much more on a GDP contribution basis in education, and we are beginning to see that we are gaining traction. Young people are beginning to take up a number of training opportunities that are available. What we also want to see is the private sector coming to the party in as far as opening up opportunities for young people, internship opportunities, learnership opportunities, and ensuring that they also give young people opportunities to get bursaries and go and learn. Many of us who've been exposed to these young people see a lot of enthusiasm and energy amongst young people. They just simply want to learn. They want to become skilled, and what we have to do is to give them the opportunity. We have to give them the tools. We have to give them everything that we can to make sure that they get these skills as to be able to make a contribution to our country. Many of you will have seen how that young girl at Mambeke's funeral stood up on the podium and articulated a clear message of what young people need. And some of us who were there said, this is the future of our country. We've got young people who are determined to learn, to get skills, and to contribute meaningfully to the future of our country. Let us give them the opportunity to do so. This government has decided that it is going to do precisely that in as far as skilling our young people is concerned. At the industrial level, our focus is to reindustrialize our country, to contribute as much as we can in the form of incentives to manufacturing entities and a whole number of other economic players. And all this adds to the packages that we have put in place to regenerate growth in our economy. And we believe that a combination of all these should be sufficient to begin to move us to that 5% growth that the President articulated yesterday. We've got the tools, we've got the wherewithal, we've got the energy, we've got the strategy. The National Development Plan is our overarching strategy that is going to enable us to reach that level of growth. Many people often talk about implementation. They say it's all very well that you've got all these plans, but implementation is going to be the key. One of the conversations that we had with people in the rating agency, they said, you've got a wonderful plan. The National Development Plan is a great plan, but we want to see whether you are indeed going to implement this plan. And the answer to that was given by the President yesterday. He is going to require this wonderful cabinet that he has appointed of talented men and women to get on with the task of implementing the National Development Plan. Ministers are going to be required, as the President said, to meet him and the Deputy President and outline precisely what it is they are going to do in each of their portfolios. And thereafter, to sign clear and focused agreements with the President, agreements that will be supported by an evaluation and assessment mechanism that will be monitoring their own performance. This time round, the President is deadly serious to see to it that there is clear performance from the men and women that he has appointed as his cabinet ministers. Watch this space. There is going to be clear performance. I've never seen the President more serious than this. He wants to move this country forward. He wants the National Development Plan to be clearly implemented. And we are going to see those ministers getting off to a good start in as far as implementing the plan is concerned. I end by saying you also heard the President focusing more attention on what we intend to do in as far as addressing the complaints, the proposals, and, if you like, the issues that were raised by our people during the election campaign. And that was largely at local government. President has given Minister Pravin Gordhan the task of making sure that our local government entities work effectively, they work to address the needs of our people, and we get rid of many of the problems. The President took time, as you heard yesterday, outlining precisely the challenges that we face in a number of municipalities. This is renewed focus in as far as addressing the real problems that face our people. We look forward to the team that Minister Gordhan is going to lead, beginning to deal with the key challenges, making sure that we address the problems that local government faces, and through that, through the various initiatives that the President outlined, there's going to be great activity at local government level. There's going to be projects that we embark upon. There's going to be job opportunities that will be unleashed in various local areas. Job creation is going to happen. Skills development is going to happen in line with the overall framework that the government has. So this is a country, a government that continues to be at work. In every area of our country, we are going to see activity, we are going to see progress. In fact, we have even said that we would like every local area, every local town, local municipality developing its own plan. And there should be activity of a developmental nature at every level of our country where our people live. And the government will come in and become the stimulus to ensure that that activity happens. Amounts of money are going to be budgeted, and we are therefore going to see great activity at the national level, at the provincial level, as well as at the local level. The next 5 years, ladies and gentlemen, is going to be a period of great economic activity, great social activity, great delivery, where ministers of government are going to be focused and where the President will be directing matters to make sure that we deliver to the people of South Africa, because they deserve it. They deserve no less but good performance, good delivery, and that is what is going to be delivered. Thank you very much.
Catch all 64 games of the FIFA World Cup live from 12 June to 13 July on SABC TV and our 19 radio stations. SABC, the official broadcaster of the 2014 FIFA World Cup Brazil.
I once saw a flower blossom through 27 prison bars of yesterday's unjust flames. I felt an old woman's anticipation for the country's first open elections. And I heard the loud celebrations of that flower's historic inauguration. I was there when Unity sang of how the Springbok never held anything back, and we saw a first-time band of 11 men, Chibobo possibility throughout the land. At the foot of Africa, time remembers how truth can reconcile a people. We carved our name into space, and on the world stage, our art stood united. When we blow that vuvuzela, the whole world goes into a trance. And even in that tearful hour of the flower's separation, we are a people who see the music and hear the flowers dance. SABC, sharing 20 years of inspiration.
It's 8 o'clock on this Wednesday morning. You're watching Morning Live, where the bulk of the focus of today's program is all on the SABC TNA business briefing taking place down in the Western Cape, where Leanne Manners and Peter Ndoro are standing by. We just heard from the Deputy President, Cyril Ramaphosa, and his final message was that he's never heard President Jacob Zuma so serious about having a clear focus on performance and the implementation of the National Development Plan. So now he is sitting down with Peter Ndoro as they go through all of the questions. Remember, you can also get involved with the discussion. You can send your questions on Twitter to @MorningLiveSABC, and I do believe that Leanne Manners will be going through all of those questions, and hopefully we'll be able to get through all of them before the show ends at 9 o'clock. Let's go back now to Peter and Leanne.
Valen, thank you very much indeed, and very warm welcome back. We're in Cape Town today because last night the President delivered his 7th State of the Nation address, and as Valen was saying, well, this promises to be a period of action as espoused just now by the Deputy President, and we welcome him on stage now. Let's begin this conversation in earnest. Thank you very much for giving us this time with us, Deputy President.
You're welcome.
First things first, a lot of people are concerned about the health of the President. How is he doing? It was great to see him last night. Is he going to be back at work soon?
Well, the President is back at work. Yesterday you saw for yourself that he's fully rested. He was himself. His voice was the usual voice that we have become accustomed to. He is in good health. He has rested. And it was good that we told him to go and rest, and he listened. The ANC said to him, go and rest, and thereafter, when he went for a medical checkup, the doctors said that you are under a lot of stress. You've worked too hard during the election campaign. He pushed the envelope quite a lot, and we're very pleased that he took these few days of rest. So he's back at work, okay. And he's himself again.
So he'll be leading us in song soon.
He's going to be leading us in song too soon. Yeah.
All right, okay. What about you? How's the first few weeks of your new job? You've had to hit the ground running as Deputy President.
Yes, I hit the ground running. I had to do what I've never done before, chairing a cabinet meeting of the executive of the country, and chairing a government lekgotla, and standing in for him, swearing in a deputy minister, something I've never done before. So I've been learning on the job. And I'm rather happy that before I do anything, I get good lessons from him. And he just says, no, mfanagiti, I'll relax and jigate. So I'm getting into it, I guess.
All right. So yeah. you're the Deputy CEO of South Africa Inc. What are you going to be doing for the next 5 years as Deputy President?
Well, I'm going to be supporting the President. That is clearly set out in the Constitution. I'm his sidekick, and I do whatever he tells me to do. But I'm also going to have specially allocated areas of work, which will be more articulated later. One of those will be being chairperson of the National Planning Commission, working with Minister Jeff Hadebe, who is the minister responsible for the planning and evaluation and assessment ministry in the presidency. And I'll be doing a number of other areas of work that are going to be finalized soon. So essentially is to support the president and do a number of other things that he will ask me to do.
So we're getting into a very important phase for the country. Delivery, big issue. And you said we should watch this space for the next 5 years.
Yes.
And you know, just looking at Twitter, we'll get a lot of those questions coming through. People are saying, what's so different this time around? We've heard this kind of talk before. You even hinted on implementation yourself. What is different? Why should we believe you this time around?
Well, people should believe it because over the last 20 years, it is this government that has moved South Africa forward, working together with all our people. And the ruling party will never say we did it alone. It did all what we have achieved to change the landscape of South Africa around working with all our people. And we are saying that we are now entering a new phase of our transition, a phase in which we are going to have radical socio-economic transformation, where we hope and trust and will do it, working with all our people once again to transform our country both at a social level and also at an economic level. This we will be able to do in case there are doubting Thomases out there. We will be able to do based on the foundation that has been built over 20 years. We are not starting from scratch. We are building on a foundation that already exists, a foundation that is well structured, and now we are building going forward. And in our view, we should even be able to quicken the pace, quicken the process of further developing our country. And what we have done now is actually to identify areas where we are going to act quickly in the transformation process. We've identified those key economic areas, the key social areas, and a whole number of areas, including just social cohesion. How we as South Africans should work together, feel patriotic, feel proud that we are South Africans. And we are laying more emphasis on economic transformation because that is the bedrock on which all our lives hinge. So we've identified areas: energy, infrastructure, extending black economic empowerment more, employment equity, and all those areas. People may well say, we've had this before. Yes, you have had it because we've been at work. And we are going to work even further and deeper to make sure that we realize the objectives that our people have.
All right, we're going to unpack a lot more of that as the conversation unfolds, as we get the questions and the Twitters. And I've got to say, you're sounding very much Deputy President at the moment, but what I'm going to ask you to do is to shorten your answers a little bit as we progress during this conversation.
Well, that's what Deputy Presidents do.
All right, let's go to the floor and find out who Leanne has got on her radar straight away, and then we'll start getting some of your tweets as well. Leanne, who's next to you?
All right, thanks very much, Peter. I actually don't have anybody next to me yet. I am going to find somebody as we go along. So here we go. My very first question for you, Deputy President. Who is it coming from? Good morning to you.
Morning, my name is Fufe, and I'm from the Northern Cape.
All right, what is your question?
The Deputy President alluded to the fact that there are going to be vibrant activities in local government in their contribution to the realization of the NDP. And I'm putting this question forth to just to establish what plans are in place, if there are any, if they are not, then when would those be ready? Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Is there another question in this area? Raise your hand. There's one over here. I'm going to get 3 questions at a time because I think one at a time is it's just going to take too much time. All right, where are you? There you. No, you were here. All right. Good morning, sir.
Morning.
What's your name?
Bongani Jack.
All right, Bongani, tell me, what is your question?
My question is the issue of finance, which is the financial services industry, that is not transformed to assist the NTP. Currently, you have only 10 companies managing 95% of 4.9 trillion of this country. And transformation in that area is not that much good. So the question that we're asking is that what is the government going to be doing in addressing that impasse to stimulate this growth that is needed in terms of the transformation of the financial services industry to assist the development?
Right. Good question. Coming from Transnet. I've got another question over here. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Leanne.
All right. What is your name?
My name is Xolesane Galada. Right. I stay here in Cape Town in Khayelitsha, to be specific. My question to the Deputy President is one. We've heard the President yesterday alluding to the fact that, quite a lot of support will be given to local municipalities. Now, what I would like to know, what does it entail, the actual support? Because, those that you've referred as having those downward syndrome, pulling syndrome, are actually saying that, is the government actually throwing money into the problem? We know that, our local government, there's quite a challenge in terms of, engineers and those skills that are scarce. So I would like to get more from the Deputy President to be specific exactly what is the support entails that will provide to local government.
Good. Right, I've read that question a few times on Twitter as well. I must say, some people also asking, you've highlighted that there are problems. You've highlighted, the President highlighted 11 amazing municipalities that are performing well, but what about those that aren't doing well? So those are 3 questions from the audience so far. I can see there are lots more. Hang on a sec. I promise I'm coming. I promise you. All right, let's get the answers to those ones.
Deputy President?
Minister Pravin Gordhan is here. And as there is no free lunch or breakfast, I see Leanne is approaching him. He is going to be addressing precisely those issues that revolve around local government. So he must answer. And I thought that Deputy Minister Jonas is also here to address the one on financial services, if he is here.
All right. Minister, you may rise. This is your moment to shine. Good to see you. And congratulations on your new appointment. We're throwing you in the deep end. Here we go. This is yours.
Well, I think the point the President was making yesterday is that, firstly, many of us are unaware that democratic local government is only 14 years old. Secondly, that there are many municipalities that do work in South Africa, and that, by and large, if you compare ourselves to probably most of the continent and most of the developing world, our local government system is quite resilient, despite all the issues that we have. Thirdly, well, he's given us the job of coordinating a group of ministers to ensure that we, firstly, diagnose where are our so-called delivery problems. Secondly, respond to those problems with a far greater sense of urgency and rapidity than we might have been able to do until now. Thirdly, look at the systems of delivery in South Africa. And if you take water as an example, water and sanitation are key issues in many parts of the country. And we are a water-scarce country. But I believe that as government we do have a plan for bulk water and reticulation as well. But the investment processes in water and sanitation aren't happening in the right kind of way. So this is only 3 weeks into the job. But I think in the next few weeks we'll be able to come up with a plan which will take even the few engineers that we have and deploy them properly, work with the private sector so that we get the right kind of skills in the right places. But there are also a few naughty things that are happening on the local government side, where we appoint people with the wrong skills in the right positions, and some of those habits need to be corrected. So, because if you're going to serve our people and do the right things and ensure that we respond to their needs, then we need to admit where the faults are and correct those faults. But far more importantly, we need to be a lot more optimistic about our local government system and build on the 20 years of democracy and the good work that we have done. Remember that South Africa had over 1,000 odd so-called municipal structures before 1994. We have just over 270 now. And some of them do have financial difficulties as well, so together with the Ministry of Finance, we'll look at those issues and see how we can actually assist them.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Minister. I think answering that question quite adequately.
Yes.
I know I've got to find the Deputy Minister in the Department of Finance.
Deputy Minister of Finance.
Where
yes,
are you, please?
Let me see, Jonas. Where are you, sir?
Okay, he doesn't seem to be here.
Don't think so.
All right. Okay.
But the issue really revolves around how the financial services sector needs to be made to be more responsive to the developmental needs of our country. And indeed, we would like to see the financial services sector being so well responsive that it makes finance accessible. One of the key problems that our people have is lack of access to finance and lack of support from the financial services sector. It is indeed an issue that we're focusing on, and at government level we have rolled out quite a big chunk of money to support small and medium enterprises, youth entrepreneurial development, and we would like to see the private sector following suit, supporting small and medium enterprises and making finance available. And this is something that will stimulate further growth in our economy. And in the meeting that the President will hold with the business working group, this is one of the issues that will be addressed. And as you heard him yesterday, he also said that we want to look very closely at our developmental finance institutions, that they should be more development oriented. They should focus more on development and make sure that finance becomes available for developmental challenges.
A term that came through one of the first questions is the National Development Plan.
Yeah.
When you spoke to us earlier, you said that this pretty much is the centerpiece in terms of strategy going forward. My question to you is, how are we going to get this into the hearts and minds of every single South African? Because I think the only way it can work is that if we all own it. And I get a sense that most people haven't even looked at it, don't know what it is, they've just heard about it, and government can't do it alone. How does this National Development Plan become the document? I keep hearing people saying, how are we going to move forward? And yet it's all there. How do we make it real?
Well, we make it real in a number of ways. One of those is clearly that South Africans must gain an interest in what happens at the public level. They must become part of the public discourse. And becoming part of the public discourse is that you must get interested in what happens in your own country. And when iconic documents like the National Development Plan are put out there in the public, you should make it your job to get to access to them and to read them. And it's very easy to get hold of the National Development Plan. For those who use tablets like I do, you just download it, NDP 2030.
Right. Let me break it down another way then. I, Joe Soap, want to contribute. Yeah. What do I do? What chapter do I read in the NDP? I can't read the whole thing. It's hundreds and hundreds of pages long. That's the attitude that people have.
Precisely the point. Many of the people who are sitting here and some of those who are listening at home do go online and they can download the plan. And the plan that you download is in executive summary form. You're able to choose a chapter that you want to look at, be it energy, be it local government, be it general governance. You should be able to get into it. The other way of interacting with the plan, of course, is to look very closely at what government is going to be doing going forward, because much of what our ministries and departments are going to be doing is to implement the plan. So when the ministers, for instance, stand up in Parliament to outline their budget votes, a lot of what they are going to be articulating will be based on the plan, and they will be setting out plans of implementing this. And by the way, the plan is being implemented as we speak. The infrastructure development rollout is very much in line with the plan, so it is being implemented. The industrial plan that we've got is being implemented, is very much part of the National Development Plan. So we invite all South Africans to get actively involved in understanding the plan. I think there's going to need to be
a section that says what to do next. I can click on that and it's on the website, so that I can physically go out and say, okay, Deputy President said I must do this today, and then start going, because I think a lot of people are a bit lost with it. But anyway, we'll unpack that a little bit further as we go on. There's some questions that have come through here already, so let's go to table 31, and this is Dev Chamru, I think. Table 31, where's Dev Chamru? There we go.
Good morning. I bring the greetings of my Prime Minister of Mauritius and the people. Nice to hear about the priorities of South Africa, which your government will be implementing. But for us, when you look at the S in BRICS, which stands for South Africa, also stands for the whole of Africa. I think South Africa has an important role to help the integration of the continent. We are falling apart or afar in the implementation of the African Union integration plan, and we would wish that South Africa takes the lead on that one. Thank you.
Okay. Do you want to answer that question, Mr. Deputy President?
Thank you very much for those remarks. We are humbled by what you've just said. We see ourselves as being very much a part of Africa. We do not by any means want to see ourselves, being a leader. We work in conjunction and in collaboration with all other countries, cooperating with them and learning from them as well. We're learning as much as we can from other countries on the continent, and where we can make a contribution, we make a contribution willingly. As you know, our President is chairperson of the Infrastructure Committee for the whole African continent, and next week he will be attending the summit of the AU, and he's going to table a report on the issues that regard infrastructure on the whole continent. So we will continue acting in that way. We actually see Africa being the rest of the African continent in the form of various countries in Africa being our key trading partners, key business partners, and we want to trade with them. We want to do business in their countries just as much as we want them to do business in South Africa as well. So South Africa is very, very much intricately linked, not only from a geographic point of view, but also from an economic point of view with the rest of the African continent. And thank you very much. Mauritius is a very special country to South Africa for a whole number of reasons, not only for the wonderful beaches that you have, but from a business point of view as well.
Yes, to Mr. Chamru, bienvenue à Afrique du Sud. Thank you very much for joining us. Leanne, where are you now? You've got some more questions.
I don't know why I'm wearing heels. That's where I am. I'm running around this room. Okay, I've got a question from table 40. I think it's James. James, there you are. I think this is the media table, so let's do this. All right, you got a question?
Thank you. Morning, James Stein from Beeld. Mr. Deputy President, I think the question I've got is about e-tolls. There was no mention made yesterday in the speech. There's been a lot of rumors circling that the roll-out of e-tolls more nationally might be stopped. Is there any clarity on e-tolls going forward? Thank you.
It had to come up. I had nothing to do with that. E-tolls, Deputy President, what's going to happen?
Why do you like trouble? No, the President did not need to address the question of e-tolls. And e-tolls, obviously, as you know, is part and parcel of our infrastructure rollout. The roads have been laid out in Johannesburg, and the Gauteng area rather, and they are working extremely well. And there was no need for the President to address that. And as you well know, SANRAL, which is our roads agency, works under the aegis of the Ministry of Transport. I mean, they have all manner of plans to roll out more roads throughout the country, and they have been doing that for years. And to this end, we are highly rated when it comes to road network in the world. So this is something that we should be very proud of, that we've got good roads and we've got an agency that's been doing all this. And I'm not immediately alive to many of their plans, and you say some of their plans have been held back. So you know more than what I do at the moment. But they are going on with their business together with the Ministry of Transport.
Okay. Right. Thank you very much. Next question. Please stand. This is from Pastor Franklin Williams. He's actually from the Motsepe Foundation in Mitchell's Plain. Your question.
Good morning, Mr. Vice President. My question to you is that I've noticed that religious leaders are not very much involved in government, and that is a sad part to me, and it plays a big role in our community and also in South Africa. And I would like to know from you, sir, how would you implement that religious leaders get more involved in government to help South Africa with our plight in poverty and also our youth? Thank you.
I must say I have been receiving quite a lot of approaches from religious leaders who say that they would like to work hand in glove with government on a number of issues, including poverty alleviation and addressing poverty in general, and we welcome this. And the President himself has, over time, taken time out to meet religious leaders, and going forward, this is going to be more strengthened so that we should interact at close range with religious leaders. That we will do because we have, as a country, a high regard for the role that religious leaders play in the body politic of our country. And indeed, the proposal or the suggestion that you're making is something that can be taken forward quite easily so that they are more actively involved. I mean, you will have seen that in various occasions that we have, be they official occasions, even with the military, there's a chaplain there, even in the ruling party, the religious leaders play a key role in, if you like, getting the event started and officiating. So they have a special place to play, a role to play, and we will consolidate that and make sure that it is upgraded with time as we go on. But thank you very much for your suggestion.
Mr. Deputy President, here's a question I'm going to put to you, because you've actually worn both hats. One hat, fighting for the rights of workers in your union days, and then the other as an employer, as an entrepreneur. The President yesterday spoke about this untenable labor relations environment that we're in at the moment, and I'm just wondering, a lot of the adversarial nature between labor and employers at the moment is somewhat reminiscent of a bygone era. What has gone wrong? What can be done to fix this? It's almost like an us and them scenario, and what's happening now is that the rest of the country, the economy, is being taken hostage because what's happening between employer and employee is affecting everybody now. How do we fix this? You talk about social partners, but this is a pressing issue, isn't it?
It is a pressing issue, and the problems and challenges that we're facing now call upon all of us as South Africans to address the problems, both as government, business, and other social partners. We do need to pay attention to some of these processes that lead to strife, that lead to lack of consensus. We are a nation of consensus builders. We've built consensus on a whole range of what people regarded as intractable problems. We were able to do so even prior to 1994. 1994 consolidated this culture of building consensus. And something has gone wrong and it has broken down. And we now need to begin the process of rebuilding that. It's not necessary between labor and business that the relationship should be so strife-fraught. It is possible to have a relationship that is based on consensus building and that is based on reaching agreement. Much as they may be coming from two different points of view, they should be able to reach agreement. So therefore the President was calling for a new dispensation to be unleashed and to be started, and we believe that this is imminently possible, and we need to reduce the gulf and the gap between the interests of all parties that are involved in any undertaking, be it in the workplace or wherever else. And I believe that it is possible to do so. We can return to those days where consensus building becomes the order of the day, a new culture.
Are you saying that we've seen the worst of it? Because it really has been a terrible last 12 months.
I would like to believe that maybe we are at the deep end right now, and the only way to go should be up, where we will begin to step back and reflect on where we've been to. And the President himself, in relation to the mining industry, is going to be leading that process. And we will be able to gain more traction in as far as that is concerned.
All right. Leanne?
All right, thanks very much, Peter. Well, I think one of the points that we noticed within the State of the Nation last night was a massive focus on the economy, which I think the Deputy President, you have really emphasized this morning, particularly in your address, and spoken a lot more about it. But energy was also one of the biggest issues that the President brought up. Now, we've got the Minister who's in charge of all of that, Minister Tina Joemat-Pettersson. Firstly, congratulations on your appointment, and welcome to this business breakfast.
Thank you very much, and thank you for the opportunity. Good morning, Honourable Deputy President and your viewers. Peter, the responsibility for the energy sector is enormous, and that responsibility is to grow the economy. Team Energy has come out. We are energized as a Team Energy. I have a Deputy Minister. Our Deputy Minister is here, Madam Majola. And I think you could also stand so that people can be introduced to you. Yes. It's wonderful to have a deputy. We realize that the growth of our economy is vested in the work that we have to do. The President highlighted a number of areas that we are responsible for. What we do know is that there's an element of policy certainty that is developing. We are certain now that we will include nuclear energy in our energy mix. We are certain that we will include gas. And that certainty has been long overdue. The independent power producers have their marching orders. The energy mix will include green energy from wind energy, solar energy, and our responsibility in the continent and in the global context has been spelled out. We have to move on the Grand Inga hence our understanding of the role we play in the continent. Eskom straddles two departments. It straddles the Department of Public Enterprises as well as the Energy Department. A greater coherence has already developed, and a greater sense of working together as a collective has already developed between the Department of Minister Lynn Brown and the Department of Energy. So we understand that an intervention in Eskom is critically important. That's essential. Our main objective is to keep the lights on.
Round of applause. Please, because I think that's what everyone wants to hear.
This challenge is going to be the challenge of our country. Eskom is the only company that I know that asks people not to use its product. Most companies sell their product and ask you to buy and use their product. But in Eskom, we ask you to use our product sparingly. And each and every South African has a responsibility to switch the lights off when you are not using it. We also have a responsibility to use green energy. The solar heaters and the rollout of solar heater energy has been successful. So we have to build on the success stories of solar energy and wind energy in the Northern Cape, expand it to provinces, ensure that transmission lines are there for electricity, and that we maintain those transmission lines. We cannot allow vandalism in our country any longer. And any service delivery strike cannot be accompanied by vandalism. This is just costing the taxpayer more and more money. It is globally accepted that energy is a scarce resource and renewable energy is the way to go. The energy mix has been spelled out by the President. I had calls from farmers to say, now that you've left agriculture, you've forgotten about biofuels. On the contrary, biofuels are included. Finally, Honorable Deputy President, if we do not want to be criticized, we should do nothing, say nothing, and we should be nothing. So because we are doing something as a country, we should expect to be criticized. So Team Energy, they are around the table right here with me. We are committed to doing something about the energy mix. What we have to do is to move South Africa forward and again keep the lights on. As simple as that.
Thank you very much, Minister.
Deputy President just wants to add to that.
No, what I wanted to do is to follow up, and I hope people listen very carefully to what the President said about two areas of energy source. Shale gas. Shale gas, he said in his statement, this has been recognized as a game changer for a number of other economies. Now, we've got shale gas by the bucket loads. And obviously, the legislation is being rolled out to make sure that when we do exploit it, we exploit it properly and carefully in line with our environmental stewardship and all that. But in other countries, it has changed the economic landscape of a number of countries, and this is the direction that we want to take. Nuclear energy as well. Now, the cascading effect of this initiatives going to be the manufacturing components of all the processes that are involved in exploiting these two energy sources. And therefore, when we say economic growth is going to be the new game in our country for transformation purposes, this is precisely one area where we're going to see the downstream, the cascading effect that will be yielded by these initiatives that we will be embarking upon.
Okay. Okay, we're going to take a quick break, and then when we come back, we're going to continue, get through as many questions as we can, because we're running out of time. So what I'd like for you in fact, I'll tell them all here when we go to the break. You watch the commercials, and I'll have a conversation with this lot.
Has the media, rather, fully probed the government about the plans to even try and get rid of this Boko Haram?
What's important for me is for media to cover the other side of things, where you say, who is Boko Haram?
Absolutely.
What do they represent? What is their agenda? Because we're not getting that.
The story was relegated to the back burners. Why the sudden media interest?
The coverage has certainly been poor, and I can almost guarantee that if this was a celebrity family, this story would be in the news almost every day.
Watch Media Monitor with me, Alicia Jali, Sundays at 9 a.m. only on the SABC News channel.
Across the globe, the continent and the entire country, every second there's always a breaking story. SABC News is your reliable eye, ear and information system in bringing you events as they happen. Our cutting-edge and hard-hitting journalism leaves no stone unturned, giving you the whole picture every time. Join us every day on SABC2 and know what is happening around you. SABC News, Africa's news leader.
Right, welcome back. You're watching the latest in the series of New Age Business Briefings, and we're having a conversation with Deputy President Cyril Ramaphosa. And the next 5 years is going to be a period of action, so we've been promised. And he says that there's going to be a lot of review, and the ministers and the cabinet that's there will have to deliver. Let's go to the floor here. Let's find out from table 36. Donovan Goliath is there to hear what his thoughts are.
All right, I'm trying to track down table 36.
Donovan, if you could stand up where you are.
I'm going to find
there we go, at the back.
There we go. There's Donovan. Okay, go for it.
If you could be very brief and a brief answer, Deputy President.
Deputy President. Deputy President Donovan Goliath, Shanduka Black Umbrellas. I would just like to hear, when are we going to hear about developments and the establishment of the new Ministry for Small and Medium Enterprises? We are eager to hear what's going to happen in this new ministry.
Oh, Shanduka, that's something you know about.
They have a small business incubation process. The new Minister of Small Business is getting ready to get moving. She's preparing a clear strategy on how to address the challenges that small and medium enterprises face on an ongoing basis. So we will be hearing from her shortly. I know she's very energetic, she's very focused, and she's got big plans for helping small and medium enterprises to develop together with cooperatives, of course. So the strategy is being bedded down, and we will be hearing from her shortly.
Okay. Leanne?
All right. Thanks very much, Peter. Well, joining me now, well, he doesn't know that, but I've just jumped on him, is the new Deputy Minister in the Department of Agriculture, Becky Tele. Good to see you. Congratulations.
Thanks, Leanne.
Have us stand up. Just because you're not
shy this morning.
Just because you're not a general anymore. Just because you're not a general. Remember chest out, stomach in? Remember that? All right, let's do this. So one of the interesting things that we heard in the State of the Nation was that the President really emphasized job creation within the sector, within agriculture. I think it was something around about 1 million jobs by 2030. Is this attainable? It should be. We have so much arable land. Obviously, this is something that the department's going to look at very, very seriously.
Thanks for the ambush. Yes, it is obtainable and attainable. Looking at the sector, remember that the unemployment, the bigger portion of it is youth. So we need to start by taking youth on board when it comes to agriculture. I know it's not very fashionable with youth, but already the Minister and I have spoken a lot about how do we bring youth on. We're trying to work with universities already to get those that are in the sector or who are studying engineering on agriculture to see how to expand it with youth general, but also working high on the beneficiation of the agricultural products. As you are sitting here, everything is agriculture in this room. What is on the table is agriculture, the scones, everything. You're sitting on agriculture, and forestry is your table themselves. It's agriculture, it's beneficiation. What you'll be eating, there are fisheries, there'll be salmon there. So definitely agriculture, you walk it, you sleep it. This is agriculture, cotton. So definitely everything can be done and make sure that these million, anyway, it was an instruction from the President, was not asking us if he needs million. So we'll have to find these jobs, million jobs, from now until 2030. It is attainable.
Good to have your sense of humour back. I can tell you that much. Minister, Deputy Minister, it's good to speak to you again. All right, a very important question here, and Deputy President, I think we need to address this. You want to talk about the strike issue, and I think we do need to talk about that.
Good morning, Deputy President. My name is Ruben Dlamini. I'm from a company called Dumehlezi Bulk Logistics. I have a question for the Deputy President. Our economy needs jobs. Our economy needs growth. And it was very inspiring to get it from the President that we, as an economy, are going to produce so many million jobs over the next couple of years. But my question is, with the level of protests and strikes, with an element of destruction of economic assets, with an element of violence, I'm particularly worried about the violence element. What clear plans have our government got to deal with the violent element during protests and strikes? Thank you.
That issue was addressed during the discussions that led to the framework agreement as led by former Deputy President Kgalema Motlanthe, that the social partners that are involved in every industry, in every sector, should address the issue of how protests manifest themselves, and that violence and destruction of property should be taken out of the way of getting involved in strikes, be they protests and whatever. And I'm sure that going forward, as the President is now going to be leading this, he will be stressing this even more during the process of implementing the framework agreement, particularly in the mining industry. But more broadly, we have seen strikes and protests leading to the destruction of property, people getting injured, and violence breaking out. And I think as South Africans, we all need to say, this is something that should not happen. We have the freedom of expression, we have the freedom of articulating our views in whatever way we can, and violence clearly should not be one of the ways that we opt for when we are unhappy with government or one other partner that we're dealing with. So we do need to get rid of this and obliterate violence and destruction of property from the face of South Africa. We do not need violence when we protest. We want peaceful protest and peaceful articulation of our views and whatever else that we want to say. So we must stop violence at all costs.
All right, thank you very much indeed for that question. We're running out of time, but when we come back, we're going to get into the last few minutes of this conversation, and we have another minister in our midst, Minister Shabangu, and we'll get a word from her. So stay with us and don't go away.
South Africans survived 2014.
Many of us actually were given bursaries by state-owned enterprises, but the state shrunk, telecom was privatized, and now you are sitting with huge unemployed people, but huge backlogs in terms of infrastructure that could develop the same young people.
It's in our hands, and our future is up to us. It's a tough year, and tough decisions will have to be made by the government. It's an election year, which makes it difficult to make tough decisions. I mean, it's tough to make tough decisions. It's especially tough in an election year.
That's Rights and Recourse, Sundays 2 p.m. on SABC News.
Catch all 64 games of the FIFA World Cup live from 12 June to 13 July on SABC TV and our 19 radio stations. SABC, the official broadcaster of the 2014 FIFA World Cup Brazil.
All right, we're nearing the end of this aftermath of the State of the Nation address, TNA business briefing. And with me now, as Peter had said, was our Minister for Women here in South Africa. And of course, this is Minister Susan Shabangu. It's good to see you, and congratulations on your appointment as well.
Thank you, Liam.
Well, we see that the President is serious about women here in South Africa and the plight of women, bringing out a ministry dedicated to women. Your responsibilities in terms of your priorities, what are you going to tackle first?
Well, the priority in this ministry is to make sure that we are able to mainstream women in the various sectors of the country, including government and the private sector. I think what we want to do, we want to make sure that women don't continue to be victims, but they become victors. And the only way of doing that is to make sure that we mainstream them, especially anchor them in the economy of the country, because if you empower women through the economy, then it does deal with the social aspects which affects women in the country. So that's going to be our priority in the various sectors. So I really want to appeal to all sectors of our country, religious leaders, NGOs, to make sure that we put women in the center by making sure that they take care of themselves. What I want to say to everybody in this country is that as from today, nothing about women without women. Thank you.
Good to hear. Thank you very much, Minister. All right, Peter.
Kind of running out of time. Maybe just the last couple of questions for you, Deputy President. Okay, so you're just one seat away from the top job now. And I'm wondering, are you being prepared to become president in 5 years' time?
Yes, I'm being prepared to become president of my golf club. It's wonderful working with President Zuma. As his deputy, we've worked very well together in the past when I was Secretary General and he was deputy. And he's president of the ANC, president of the Republic. It's a real joy to watch him work, watch him do everything. And for me, I would love nothing better than continue being deputy president to President Zuma. And that is great.
All right, we're going to have to leave it there, unfortunately. But ladies and gentlemen, a big hand for Deputy President Cyril Ramaphosa for giving us his time and sharing his thoughts with us and giving us an outline of what lies ahead for the next 5 years. And from me, goodbye, Leanne.
Yeah, indeed. It's been an interesting one. There are so many more questions on the floor, and I wish I could have gotten to all of them. Now I know the frustration you go through, Peter. I'm sure it's one of those tough jobs that you have to sort of say, I'm sorry, but it's a tough one. But I hope we've addressed quite a couple of the issues. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. And certainly we'll be back as Morning Live tomorrow morning between 6 and 9 here on this channel. So take care. Have a wonderful day, everybody, and bye-bye.